Baby, baby.
Good afternoon. This is your boy, NotoriousSA, aka Steve Anderson, aka there's a lot of honking going on out here. I am currently outside of the old Macy's here in Schaumburg, Illinois, around Woodfield. There is a pro-Trump rally happening here at the intersection of Meacham and Gulf Road. Across the street there's also a counter-protest, a bit smaller in nature, but there's a lot of people here carrying Trump flags, wearing Make America Great Again hats, and we're going to talk to some people, see what they have to say. Alright, I am currently in the parking lot of the old Macy's, and the first person I met has agreed to talk to me, so just a couple questions. For the record, this is the NotoriousSA podcast. Just want to tell us kind of a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, where you're from.
I'm just an average white guy, just making an average go at life and raising my family, working for a living, paying my bills and taxes, and supporting my family.
Are you from the local area here?
I'm from near O'Hare, southwest corner of O'Hare Field.
Okay. And did you vote for Trump in 2016?
Yes.
In the primary or in the general or both?
Both.
Okay. And what about the presidency? I guess the first thing I should say is, are you aware the president was recently diagnosed with coronavirus?
Yes.
All right. If there's anything you would want to say to him, just on the chance he might listen to this, what would you want to say?
Keep up the good fight, sir.
What drew you to Trump in the first place?
Just his honesty. Everybody says that he's lying, but I don't think they see the light in the things that he says.
All right. And over the last 4 years, what do you think are his biggest accomplishments?
To reduce restrictions on business, bring businesses back to the country, to get the wall going on the southern border. A little disappointed that Mexico hasn't chipped in a little more, and just that he's an equal fighter for all mankind, it seems to me.
Did you watch the first presidential debate?
Yes, this one here?
Yes,
Yeah.
the most recent one. How do you think he did?
I only watched a little bit of it because it seemed like a tit for tat, and I wasn't interested in tit for tat stuff, so I had other business to take care of around my house, so I did mostly that. I wasn't interested in listening to bickering going on.
I assume you plan on voting for Trump in the upcoming election?
Yes.
Do you think he's going to win?
Yes.
By how much?
More than last time. He didn't win the popular vote last time, but I think he will this time, and by overwhelming odds.
Okay, and if there's any advice you would give to him if he does win the next term, what would it be?
Just pray to your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for deliverance from your sickness, and to help deliver this country from communism, Marxism, to a free republic.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it. So I'm out here at the Trump rally, and I'm out here meeting with the organizers. So if you guys want to just quickly introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Paul, and this is my wife, Nancy.
Hello.
She is the co-founder and my better half. And we are out here for God, country, and Trump. And we love this country. We love our Lord Jesus. And we love our president. And the Bible says we're to pray for him. So we're out here praying for him as he's laboring right now. And we believe that God will keep everybody here safe today.
All right. And you guys from the local area?
Yeah, we're actually from DuPage County, Bartlett, Illinois. And we're business owners also, Nancy and I. Yes.
Okay. And did you guys support President Trump in 2016?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Both in the primary and the general?
And beyond.
So what brought you guys out here for the last couple of times?
I didn't see any events like this. And I'm not saying there weren't any, right, Nancy?
Right. I mean, it's just great to come here for our president, for our country, for our freedom. and to let people know that they're not alone. This is a very hard state, the state of Illinois, to be, love our Jesus Christ, love our, be a conservative, and this is a very hard state, and we really wanted to do something, just a grassroots effort.
That's exactly it, and we didn't see any, and I'm sure there were out there, but we don't do Facebook or Twitter, so we didn't know anything, so that's why we were led by the Spirit to be here and organize. And during this time, there's so many people that are depressed, suicidal because of COVID and other situations. And we wanted people to know that you can come out here without a mask or with a mask, because the governor, J.B. Bolshevik, he is a Bolshevik and he is a communist. And we wanted to oppose him, and God's people are free. And they don't fears of the devil. We don't fear the COVID or anything else. We believe the virus is real. We pray that nobody gets it.
And are you aware that the president was recently diagnosed with the virus?
Yes, very saddened to hear that. I heard that yesterday, and I hope it's not serious, because they took him to Walter Reed Medical Center, and maybe that's just as a precaution, I hope.
Yes.
There's a lot of rumor mongers.
We're hoping it's just very mild.
Yes.
And we are definitely praying for President Trump and our First Lady.
Yes.
If he were by chance to hear this and you wanted to give him a message, what would it be?
I would say that the days are short, and I know the president was the first president to come out for, lives against abortion, and he came out, first president ever. I just ask the president that keep Jesus number one, and as we all repent of our sin. And the way we can heal this is 2 Chronicles 7:14. And God says that when we repent from the heart, he will hear us and he will heal our land.
Yes.
And we are Jerusalem, JERUSALEM.
Yes. We are here for President Trump and for Americans and for the people.
All Americans.
All Americans. All Americans. This nation was founded in that beautiful 1776 year. We should have more respect for our founding fathers.
Amen.
And the reason why this country is so great, because it allowed people to be creative. It allowed people to be entrepreneurs. It allowed people to find their own little niche. And because of the creativity and their intelligence, that's why this country is great. And thank you, Donald Trump. Just thank you very much.
So what do you guys think the biggest accomplishment he's had in his first term?
Well, that's a very difficult question. What I like is he did not expand the wars, and he brought troops home. And that means lives and afflictions of wars will be lessened. That's the biggest thing about President Trump, in my opinion.
Yes. What was the question again?
What is his biggest accomplishment in the first term?
His biggest accomplishment?
He's kept America first.
I really think he is trying to keep America first.
The trade
make
war
America
with
great
China?
again. I mean, and yes, and with his guidance, I really think he could bring back more manufacturing in the United States.
Yes.
I think we really need to stop some of this globalization.
Yes.
It's just got out of hand these past 20 years.
Defunding the WHO like he did.
Bring back this manufacturing to America. And you'll see it rise again, and you'll see people coming together again.
Amen to that.
What advice would you have for the president if he wins a second term in terms of what could he do differently and what should he keep doing?
In my opinion, the first thing would be to cut off or eliminate a lot of foreign aid. A lot of the foreign aid is going to non-Christian countries, such as Afghanistan, Iraq, Israel. Israel is not a member of NATO. They're not, and they're not Christian. So I would bring that money home from not only all those countries, wherever they are, and take care of America first. People have floods; they can't afford FEMA health or flood coverage. They need to help Americans first. When there's a fire on the West Coast, a flood anywhere, keep America first, not foreign nations.
And are you both planning on supporting the president in the upcoming election, I take it?
Yes, even more this time. Yes, because we're fighting for our children's futures.
Yes.
Do you think he's going to win?
Absolutely he's going to win. I believe that even though we're undeserving of another 4 years because of the abortion and the same-sex marriage, that God is going to bless us again and favor us even in our sin. Yes.
Yes, I absolutely think President Trump will be up for re-election and win, and he will make America, a better nation. Give him
For all people.
Give him another 4 years.
Wages are all rising because of Trump. The artificial federal or state minimum wages, they're not in effect because businesses are paying more for people today, no matter what government says. So, and this is how our economy, when it's a free economy, a capitalist, it flourishes. And it even outdoes the minimum wage laws. God bless America.
Yes.
God bless Trump.
And, our economy does need another push. We need manufacturing.
After COVID,
and,
especially.
And I think if a lot of individuals being out here on the streets, we see the silent minority that are giving us the thumbs up, giving us the honks, and that silent minority can make America flourish so much more.
Wonderful. All right, that's going to do it for me on this. So here we go. All right, I'm standing here next to the road with passionate Trump supporters who are dealing with honks and people dealing with less than friendly. So I've met a gentleman here. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, my name is William Ami.
All right, and are you from the local area?
I'm living now currently in Des Plaines. I just moved to Des Plaines June of this year.
And what brought you out to the Trump rally today?
Honestly, I love America. I love my people. I love home. I love freedom. So I feel like we have to stand for something when we have a world that's really divided right now. So that's what brought me really out, is just protecting my own rights and my own freedoms, and my sons as well.
Right. Are you aware of the president being currently hospitalized for COVID?
Yes, I am aware.
If you were to hear this and you wanted to give him a message, what would you say?
God bless, and I feel as if you have a plan. I feel kind of like, as weird as saying this, I think you kind of gave it to yourself on purpose, so you can show us how to get rid of it, maybe. And if that's the case, God bless you for exposing the truth, really.
Have you been a supporter of the president since 2016?
Yes.
All right. Did you vote for him the last election?
I did.
Right. And you plan on voting for him this time too, as well?
Most definitely.
For sure. Yes. What is it about Trump that draws so many millions of people to him in terms of just believing in him as, almost, I want to say superhuman, but like people really trust him more than they trusted other presidents?
For one, for me, I'm from the city, so I know BS, and he doesn't speak it. He speaks like one of us. He's like a person. Yeah, it's not like a puppet. We've been so used to seeing people come to a podium and reading off the teleprompters or reading off the scripts, almost as if everything's written for them or someone's controlling them. But with him, it's everything from the heart. Even if it seems kind of off-putting, he means well. We're all, again, no one's perfect, and he shows that. He's not the most perfect guy, but he also cares so much for home. He cares for his people. He cares for freedom. He cares for our rights. So yeah, I think that's what kind of drew me, at least, towards him. I'm sure a lot of other people as well. I'm a Hispanic, so it's like, I realize how much he does care for our community as well as he does the blacks and whatnot. It's just like we have another system tearing that down while he's trying to build it back up to what it should be from the jump. So he's a realist, and I think that he keeps it 100% real. Even if you don't like it, the truth does hurt at times, and I think people need to kind of just realize that and move on so we can fix things the right way. Admit to what the truth is. That's how you can fix it completely. You can't just lie about it and, but people have feelings, unfortunately, and we kind of mix it, and that's what I'm seeing now. It's like emotional. People are just too emotional when just accept the truth and let's fix that.
Right. You said you were Hispanic. Do you believe the president has been good for the Hispanic community?
Oh, yes, most definitely. Until like the coronavirus unfortunately hit, which again I think that was a Democratic stunt because it's conveniently how it hit like during the re-election time. It didn't hit before, and you know also they've been doing this since Trump got into office. It hasn't stopped. Like since he got into office, they have not let up. And I've never seen them do this with any other president, so I asked myself why. And again, it's because he's doing the right thing. He's rich, he doesn't need their money, so they're paid off. And it's clear as day that that's what they care for. They got their little private islands here and there and blah, blah, blah. You know, and he's uncovering all these truths about them and they don't like it. And that's why they want him out so bad, so they can continue doing whatever they've been doing for forever now.
Right. What do you think has been his biggest accomplishment over his first term in his presidency?
I honestly think helping the Latino and Black community find jobs and secure them. I think that was the biggest thing I could really say, because no other president really had done that. Not even Obama, really. And I'm from Chicago. Obama's supposed to be from Chicago, but he didn't do nothing for us. I mean, we're still killing each other by the thousands in weeks, you know? So it's like, you know, I don't know. I don't like the whole Black Lives Matter narrative, because if it was so true, they'd be all there helping them out. You know, so, and they're not.
Right. What advice would you give to President Trump if he were to win a second term?
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep your head high, and don't crumble to these elitists. Don't crumble to the pressure. Keep God close to heart, and keep reaching out to us as people. Keep relating to us. Keep showing your human side. You know, you ain't got to be perfect, but you know, as long as you care for life, you're compassionate about your fellow man. That's all I care for. So.
That's awesome. Real quick, would you just if you want to give your name or any identifying info about yourself?
First and last name?
Whatever, it's fine.
Georgia.
Okay. And are you from the local area?
I'm from Addison, Illinois.
Okay. And why are you out here for Trump today?
I'm out here because I value my freedom. I love President Trump. He supports everything that is American. He supports America first. He backs the blue, which I value, and I have 5 children that I care about what America we're going to leave to them.
Right.
So freedom is really important. America is the best country in the world. Like, there is no better country than here. And Trump has proven himself time and time again. He has come through on all his promises.
Right.
So, and I'm trying to teach my kids. They're right there. I have 2 of them with me today. To be patriots. I'm a patriot.
Right.
And I love patriots. And Trump is the biggest patriot. And just the lies that the media says about him is disgusting. Disgusting. And even when you show them, even when you show the opposing side, the truth, the facts, they still deny it.
So, as a woman supporting Trump, what do you make of other women trying to say that the president is either sexist or doesn't care about women or is a monster in some cases?
I say they watch too much fake news media, because Trump's actions say completely the opposite. Trump loves women. He does.
You don't believe him to be a sexist or
he's not a sexist
or
at all.
Or someone who's committed sexual offenses?
No. Believe me, if Trump had done any sexual offenses, we would have known. Nobody has been scrutinized or investigated more than Trump. It would have been all over the news. So I don't believe that for 1 second.
And you're aware the president was recently hospitalized with COVID, correct?
Yes, I heard.
If you had a message for him, if you had a chance to hear this, what would it be?
Oh my God. I love you so much, President Trump. Thank you so much for fighting for us. You have a lot of support. Everyone loves you. We have faith in you. We need you. Get your rest. And you still have a lot of work to do.
Right. One question that I have that doesn't get talked about is, how do you think that First Lady Melania Trump has been treated compared to other First Ladies?
I think she has been completely disrespected. She has not been given a chance to shine. She is a star. She speaks several foreign languages. She's very educated. She's classy. She's gorgeous. And people only want to talk bad things about her. She is a very smart First Lady and carries herself very well. She's raising her son with American values and pride and teaching him things that are important like freedom. And I give her a lot of credit because she gets so much negative feedback from the fake news media.
Right. What advice would you give to President Trump if he were to win a second term?
Just keep doing what you're doing, President Trump. There is nothing I would change. Nothing. He is amazing just how he is. Just keep fighting for us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Well, I've talked to a few people on the pro-Trump side. There has been several people. There's been all demographics are represented here. Everyone's a little bit, people are a little bit older, but there are Hispanics out here. There are some black people. There are women out here for Trump. So it's very loud. There's a lot of honking, and I'm sure if you probably haven't heard in the podcast already that the honks have kind of overtaken the conversations here. But for the most part, everyone has been very polite. Everybody has been just active in letting them know why they support the president. So. Eventually I'm going to talk to a couple more people, and then I'm going to go over to the next side, and then I'm going to see what the counter-protesters have to say. I'm standing here at the intersection with 3 Trump supporters who are carrying signs including Get Well President Trump, Nurses for Trump, and Back the Blue. So why are you guys out here, and what makes you so supportive of the president?
I'm here because I want a future for my grandchildren. I want them to grow up like I did in a free country.
Okay. And I see you've got the Back the Blue. Do you have police officers in your family?
I do not, but I have veterans.
Okay. And do you think that the president has been people will say he's too lenient with law enforcement? Do you believe that?
Lenient?
Yes. As in he hasn't done enough to speak out against things like police brutality or anything like that.
And you can't tell me that because every cop out there is supporting Trump. And as far as brutality, they bring it on. If they're running from the cops and they turn around to shoot, an officer has every right to shoot back.
And if by chance the president heard this, if you had a message for if the president were to hear this and you had a message for him, what would it be?
Get well.
I've gotten a lot of that today. So, all right. So I'm still at the intersection here of Gulf and Meacham here, and I just met somebody who was willing to talk. So if you want to give your name?
Yeah, my name is Chris Berry, 70 years old, longtime resident of Schaumburg for many, many years, and a Trump supporter.
Okay. And have you been on the Trump train since 2016?
Yes, I have.
Did you vote for him in the primary in 2016?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And why have you been attracted to the president? Is it anything about him in particular? Have you always been a Republican?
Yes, he's a first politician that says he does what he says, and I believe he's really for the people. You know, most politicians come to the office, looking for a future. He had a future. He already had his money, and I believe he wanted the job because he wanted to give back of what the country gave him. And I'm here for my grandkids.
What would you say has been the president's biggest accomplishment over his first term?
Kept all his promises of what he had promised us.
Okay. And you're aware that he's currently hospitalized with COVID-19?
Yes, I am, and I have a theory on that too. He's not really sick. I think that they brought him in there as a preventative so they can get him back on the trail,
right.
Pump him up with these new drugs and whatnot, just get him back on the trail so that we can have another 4 more years.
Right. If you were to hear this and you were to give him any message you want, what would it be? Like well wishes, anything like that?
Stay strong, and get back on that trail.
Right. What advice would you give him if he were to win a next term?
More of the same of what you've been doing the last 4 years.
All right, thank you. All right, I just finished up talking to the Trump side, so I'm currently in the middle of the intersection, and I'm going to go to the other side of the street, which is over by the Michaels and the AT&T store. There is a small group of anti-Trump demonstrators. They've got some Black Lives Matter signs. They've got some handwritten signs. It's not as huge of a crowd, but it's definitely there and noticeable. So I'm hopefully going to be able to cross the street, and I'll see if anybody wants to talk from the anti-Trump perspective. So come back to you. All right. Hello, this is me, NotoriousSA. This is an editor's note to myself and to everybody listening that so I did in fact walk across the street, and I did interview 2 people who were there. Unfortunately, the audio did not come out well at all, and partially between the fact that it was raining and the cars were loud and the microphone apparently just cut out at certain points. Unfortunately, it's just I couldn't use it. So I don't want it to sound like I didn't talk to the other side of the aisle, because I did. I did, in fact, walk across the street. So the best accounting I can give of that is that I talked to 2 people who were immediately suspicious of what I was doing. And when I explained to them that I was just doing a podcast, I think the first thing they thought was that I'm part of Turning Point USA, the organization by Charlie Kirk, which I am not affiliated with. And after I told them that, they seemed to be a bit at ease. And I was explaining that I'm just here. I'm a local political consultant, and I'm just kind of like getting both sides of the story here. So when I asked the 2 of them, these were 2, I believe everyone was wearing masks and was pretty buttoned up, but I'm pretty sure they were 2 white women. I asked if anybody was there an organizer or someone who wanted to speak? And they said that they were all organizers, but they wanted to have a person of color speak on their behalf. But and this is an exact quote: "Unfortunately, we don't have any people of color here at this protest." So it was a protest with multiple signs of Black Lives Matter, and it was mostly, from what I saw, white people. So take from that what you will. But 2 people did actually want to talk. The first gentleman I spoke to, whose name, again, is lost in the recording somewhere, he is a Schaumburg resident. He was there with his wife and children. I think there were 3 children, if I'm correct. They were wearing Black Lives Matter mask, and they had signs, and he had a hot take. The sign he said "Hot take, Black Lives Matter," changed my mind. I believe a take on the Steven Crowder meme. I spoke to him for probably about 5 or 6 minutes about just why he was there, what specifically he didn't like about the president, and kind of the general message. And that he explained to me that he was a resident of Schaumburg who believed that the president is racist. He had been opposed to him since the beginning. He expressed that Biden was the current choice and that he was going to vote for him, and that he did vote for him in the primary, although he wasn't his favorite person, which is not something that's totally unusual. But he did, in fact, say that he was going to be voting for Biden. And when I asked about the president and kind of what had happened with him in terms of like this recent news of what kind of bothered him the most, he mentioned the debate about the Proud Boys, in which the president didn't denounce them. And he did later call Hannity and denounce the Proud Boys, but in the moment with the debate on Biden, he did not. He told them to stand back and stand by, which some took as an endorsement. So this gentleman, also as a Marine, he said he was a 20-year Marine veteran. And again, sir, if you hear this, feel free to message me and then just give me your info, and I can kind of follow up with you. But unfortunately, the audio I had was not good. But he said he was a 20-year veteran of the Marine Corps, and that when asked about, how Trump's treatment of the military was, he said he was not he was shocked but not surprised that the president would say terrible things about the military, calling them losers and suckers, and said that the way he's treated John McCain and generals who've retired and criticized him, just the general disrespect to the military he saw was important. And when I asked about why some veterans on the other side of the protest may be supporting Trump, he brought up a good point. He says, like, I think it's because in the military, when I was in the military, it's a very conservative institution. And I was serving when Obama was president, and I was shocked to learn how many people that were active duty were upset with the fact that the president was African American. And he believed that the military doesn't necessarily reflect that as a whole, but that certain people in the military may not be the most racially sensitive, though he said the vast majority of them are, and that he disagrees with his fellow veterans, and if he were to talk to them, he might be able to find some common ground with them. So that was the first gentleman. The second guy was a younger kid, also wearing a mask. He gave his first name, which again, my audio recording didn't have, and I couldn't take notes because it was raining. He was there, and he was definitely, he admitted he has been a longtime Bernie supporter, and he was a big activist in the Black Lives Matter movement. Him and his girlfriend, who was also there, who declined to be interviewed, said that they learned about this from several Facebook groups, which they did not want to mention for some reason. I guess they were kind of just shielding themselves with privacy, that they follow these type of things and that they want to show up as counter demonstrators to the Trump protest to remind people that there are people who oppose the president, which, yes, of course, there are people who oppose the president. And I will say that if you were to look at them, and I did save some Snapchats of it, so maybe I can post them, but the Trump rally was definitely larger than the counter protest. There had been two sides. One of them was just in front of the old building, and one was across kitty corner, and they had a very large Trump flag. If anybody is on social media and wants to look for it, I'm sure you can see it out there. You might actually see me walking around. I'm the guy with the Super Mario lanyard and the microphone. So the second gentleman I talked to basically mentioned that he wasn't a huge fan of Biden either, but this was the choice they made, and he definitely thought he was better than Trump. And when I asked about his general feelings on the topic, he admitted that Biden is not as progressive as he would like, but clearly he's better than Trump. And then when he saw the Proud Boys comment, he said that it was sad but not surprising that this kind of attitude of deference to white supremacists was prevalent with the president, and that unfortunately it was bad, right? He was not a fan of the president. He was out there to protest him. I did ask both gentlemen what they think would happen if Trump were to lose, and would it be any different? And they both said individually that they believe the country would be better off, but it would be uncomfortable. There would be days of protest. There might even be riots, but eventually things would kind of work itself back to whatever they call normal. And in this pandemic era we're living in, normal is probably going to be different from what it was in 2015 or 2019 even. I'm not sure anybody knows what's happened on the other side of this, but they were both respectful. They were both nice. They had both mentioned that on occasion Trump supporters had gone over there and messed with them. Nope, nothing serious. But both sides had mentioned that one person, at one point during these multiple protests and counter protests, at least one person had been very obnoxious on both sides. On the Trump side, they had told me that this person had been escorted away by the police. And on the anti-Trump side, they told me that person just kind of made a ruckus and left. So honestly, they're across a big street. There's people honking, there's megaphones, there's whatever, but it looked like they were both using the same parking lot. Some of them were, at least, and that they were across the street from each other. Everybody was respectful. When asked about the other side, I will say both sides didn't want to say anything like particularly negative about the counter protesters, like calling them bad people or anything. They just said they both said that they disagree with them and that they wish they understood where they were coming from, which I thought was kind of important, because in these conversations with people I've had, it's not as if they necessarily are there because they hate the other side, right? They're there because the pro-Trump side believes Trump is good for America and they support the current elected president. And the other side, definitely, it seemed a lot less more of a political protest, and I mean that in the terms of the politician himself, than as a anti-Trumpism protest. And again, the fact that there was a Black Lives Matter protest and there were no people of color there, it shouldn't say anything, because anybody of any race can express any ideas they want. But I will say that there were 0 people of color on the side of the anti-protesters and quite a few Hispanic and even a few Black Trump supporters on the other side. It's all anecdotal. You don't have to take it as, this is the broad trend across everything. But I would just like people to know, right, that not everybody may fit into the box that you want them to. And that's okay, right? I feel like there's this attitude where we know people, and as we talk to them, a lot of the times the first things we talk about is the things we agree on, and you'll just hear more and you'll be like, yes, I'm in sync with this person. They're my kinship, they're my bond, right? They're like, but then they'll say something you disagree with, and then you'll kind of just be kind of thrown asunder, because you're like, how could a person I like and agree with so much think so differently on a particular topic, right? Whether it's, women and Hispanics who support Trump to the white people who are pro Black Lives Matter. People can extend their ideas beyond whatever their demographics say they should. I just want that to be clear to people, is that people are allowed to have their individual expressions, and that if we go after the people and not the ideas, right, what we're basically saying is that I'm no better than my primitive ancestors who were very shallow and couldn't understand and look across something and see a person who I disagree with, but a fellow American and a fellow human being. So, editor's note, sorry. One last segment left, and then I'm going to do the recap. Okay, so I just crossed the street again after talking to the counter-protesters here, and I'm here with a couple young ladies. If you want to introduce yourselves.
I'm Elena. Hi, I'm Olivia.
Okay. And you're both younger Trump supporters?
Yeah, we're both 17. Yeah, seniors.
All right. So what brought you out here on this rainy, kind of muggy Saturday morning to show up in support of President Trump?
Well, personally for me, it's been just like the craziness with all the leftists and, just all the BLM stuff and, all the lies and the media. It's just been very frustrating. So I decided to just come out, kind of show my support and be around people who think like me.
Yeah, kind of same thing. I have a lot of friends who don't typically agree with me, and so just really encouraging to come out and see the support of Trump and just get encouraged and riled up.
So you said you're both 17, correct?
Yes.
Seniors in high school?
Yep.
So your demographic is obviously a much smaller portion of Trump's support. What would you tell other young people who are skeptical of the president and his record?
I would just say, look at different sources. Try to, be as unbiased as possible and just listen to people who have different opinions than you. Also, what matters most in a presidency is what he does and, his personality. You may not like his tweets and those kinds of things, but I would urge those people to look at the actions he's making and how he's helping people. I would say that that's the most important thing to do.
Yeah, and just, looking at facts versus opinions and really separating those two is really great, and looking at the biases of sources and people, and also just really getting involved in Trump rallies or BLM rallies. Go to different things and see what they're about. Meet the people that are involved in them.
So when you guys were 4 years ago, I assume you were significantly younger. Were you guys initially drawn to President Trump? Is this sort of a new thing? What got you on the Trump train?
when I was in 8th grade, I knew nothing really about politics, and I knew everyone kind of like didn't like Trump. We had a mock election at school, and a lot of people just voted for Trump as a joke, and so he won. It wasn't until the Kavanaugh hearings that I got really interested in politics. That was, a very frustrating time for me.
What specifically about the Kavanaugh hearings?
It was just what the Democrats were willing to do to like keep him from, being put onto the Supreme Court. And my dad actually worked at the same place at Kirkland & Ellis, and it's, so there was a closer connection. We knew like kind of who he was. So it was just very infuriating to see like how real politics actually plays out. It was very eye-opening to me.
Yeah, I mean, I personally like that he wasn't a politician. He was an American, businessman, and he just wanted to make the country better. And so I I appreciated that mindset. And so I think that's what really drew me to Trump and started to research him more and find out more about his politics.
So people will say that the president has a bad record with women in terms of the way he's talked about them and treated them. But on this side, I've talked to a few women who are all very supportive of the president. Not that gender should matter, but in terms of what other women feel about Trump, do you guys feel that he's either inappropriate to women or believe any of the accusations made against him?
I don't. I think a lot of his White House staff are women, and hearing the testimonies of Sandra Huckabee and Kayleigh McEnany, he appoints women who he trusts and who trust him. And I see no evidence for him being a sexist or anything like that. I think he truly wants what's best for America, and I don't think that he's gonna put down women or anything. I just don't see evidence for it.
Yeah, I mean he's put a new Supreme Judge or whatever is a woman, and I don't know. I just think I don't think he is ever inappropriate or disrespectful to women.
What do you guys think is the biggest accomplishment Trump has had over the first 4 years of his term?
Oh, that's a tricky one. There are a lot of things I really like that he's done. I would say, the Kavanaugh appointment to the Supreme Court, I think, that was really huge for me, just because of, I'm a really passionate pro-life person, and so doing that, just knowing that the court is becoming less liberal and, maybe reflecting more of the country, that's debatable, but I was just really glad that he wasn't afraid to appoint a conservative.
Yeah, I mean, I really just like that he kind of is cleaning out the swamp of law enforcement and different, sects of the government or whatever.
I'm sure you're both aware that the president was recently hospitalized with coronavirus, along with the First Lady. If he were by chance to hear this, which sometimes he does elevate in random podcasts, so we'll see, but if you were to hear this and you had a message for him, what would it be?
I would be, of course, he doesn't need to hear this, but don't let the liberals get you down. God's going to do what he's going to do, and if it's his will that you get better, then I hope that happens. I really hope that, your family isn't, hit by this too hard. And I really hope you can continue doing your service to the American people.
Yeah, and you have support. We got your back. We are not going to stand down and let them just take over freedom of speech. We are going to keep protesting, keep doing rallies and parades and just defending your honor, and we're praying for you that you'll get better.
Right. If Trump does win a next term, do you guys have any advice for him in terms of what he should pursue, things he should change, attitude styles he should change? What would you recommend for the next 4 years if he were to win?
I see it a lot.
A lot of the same. I would say he should, continue with, going against Obamacare and those kinds of things. I think he should really stand for the values of, personal responsibility and those kinds of things. I don't know a lot of the, particulars, but I think just pushing against, the kind of liberal agenda here. I think a lot of the same would be great.
Yeah, just keep standing up for the American working people, and also I'm really excited what he's going to do with the Platinum Plan for the Black people. I'm just really excited to see that.
Right. Will you both be eligible to vote by chance this November?
Unfortunately, no.
So for kids who are 18 and this is going to be their first chance to vote, and they're not sure because they're clearly not a fan of Biden, but they hear a lot of bad things about Trump, what would you tell an undecided young voter about what to do for this election?
Well, I should tell them that if, thinking about their future, when you're 18, you're in college, you're kind of starting your life. that just kind of look at, what you're going to have to do when you start becoming an adult and, supporting yourself. Who best supports, your success in that area? Is it Biden or, is it Trump? I would just ask them to really think about, how their life is going to be in the next few years and which president would really help them with that.
Yeah, just just think of what kind of America you want in the future. It's your future. Don't be afraid to have your opinions and research and have facts to back them up.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for participating. I appreciate it. It's good to hear young people out. So there it is, folks. I went out into the world today and I talked to real people. Real people that exist, that are real. And no, I'm not being sarcastic when I say that. I mean, there was a protest, and I'm not a journalist. I'll say that. I wouldn't qualify myself as a journalist. I would qualify myself as a dude with a microphone and a podcast who was just asking questions of people just to get their honest opinion, right? And you know what? I learned quite a bit from today. You see people, and it definitely is different when you're interacting face to face. I know in this world, and particularly in this COVID world, it seems like almost all interaction has gone in a virtual direction, right? People we don't know, we may never meet and never see in public, we can say things to instantly over the internet. And it seems to build some sort of, desensitivity to manners, almost. But what I saw today when I was walking in the crowd was people are separate. They have very different opinions. They have very, very different takes on the world and this president and the circumstances we're in. But, the fact that we're all able to stand on the opposite sides of the road, say what we want, and people will honk in support of us and may honk against us. There was a lot of people driving by and they're honking, right? And that's it, right? They see him, they might wave at him, they honk on both sides. I was going to say earlier, it was very actually hard to hear the Black Lives Matter protest because there was a lot of honks while I was over there, a lot more, and there was a lot less people. So maybe the honks were louder. I don't know. But, people would come by and honk, and they would raise their fists and say Black Lives Matter or chant or something. And on the other side, people would chant and say, go Trump or go America or Trump 2020 or whatever. The thing I did see, though, that I think was kind of a sad moment was when I was speaking to that one gentleman, William, when we had gone off the record. There was a gentleman he was discussing how, I was like, what are you going to do with these people who are, people are driving by and like flipping you off and yelling, fuck you. And, doesn't that like get to you after a while? He's like, not really, man. I'm trying to spread love and positivity. So there was a gentleman who was across the road from us, and he was in his car, and he just was consistently holding up his middle finger to the crowd. And he was pointed out, and that they said that, look at that guy, he's flipping us off, right? And then behind him, it's clear that there's a toddler, not a toddler, but a child in the back seat, right? And someone pointed out, he's like, hey, what kind of example are you setting for your kid, right? Because this man was giving these people the middle finger with his wife in the passenger seat and a child in the back seat, right? And you kind of have to ask yourself, is this scenario something you've heard before? But if you have, did you assume it was going to be different, right? You basically heard that there was a family driving by, a political protest on the road, and the driver flipped off the protesters. If I just told you that story, odds are your partisan affiliation would fill in the blanks for you, right? If you're one side, it's people supporting the president and some person in a car flipping them off with their kid in the back seat. And the other side, it's a Black Lives Matter protest with someone who's opposed to them and maybe a Trump supporter, flipping them off with the child in the back seat, right? The common thread in this story here is that when someone was driving by a protest, right, somebody used their First Amendment rights to flip off the crowd while a child was in the back seat. And like, I get it. We're people. We're angry. I'm sure he thought it was harmless, right? But there were kids in this crowd, right? There were children in the crowd of people that were supporting the president, right? That were in the pro-Trump crowd. And they were the same age as the kid in the back seat, right? So the kids are there. They're across the street from each other. And they're watching what the adults are doing, right? Maybe it's hard to think about this, and, maybe it's because I'm just, trying to put all the pieces together that I just created here and trying to get some sort of unifying message out of it, is that what example are we setting for our kids when we talk about politics, right? What example are we setting for the younger generation here? And, maybe this is me having that quarter-life crisis that I've had, that everyone else has had at 31, but, when you're no longer the prime demographic of MTV, and you get sucked into the adult world of bills and 401ks and, trying to get your future correct, right? Maybe we don't think about when we're expressing our political opinions because we're raw and emotional, is that the example that we set for the future is going to be how the political debates of the next generation will be dealt with. And for many of us, I'm sure that when we discuss how we would teach our children to do this, is that we would teach them to be polite and respectful, that they would obey the rules, right? That they would treat others the way that you want to be treated and be kind. And you know what? What I saw today was I saw people who decided that the best example for children was to flip the bird at people they disagreed with. And you know what? You can say, whatever, they're Trump supporters, good he flipped them off. But ask yourself, is that something you would say? Is that something you would say? Right? Would you feel good about that? It's not okay if Trump supporters flip off the Black Lives Matter protests. I don't think it's okay for a anti-Trump person to flip off the Trump rally, right? I just think that the whole flipping people off in the context of they're strangers and they have children with them, and this is the message you're sending of what is acceptable social behavior, right? Yes, it is the First Amendment right to do that. By all means, go ahead if you want to do it that way. But ask yourself, is there a more constructive way of doing this? Is there a better way of us actually discussing our issues than character tweets and, sound bites, right? Is it at all possible that there is some sort of ground in which we can all kind of establish as, fair and accurate, right? As I mentioned earlier, I don't particularly support the president as the person. I'm not a fan of his personal character, right? But I am concerned about the integrity of the office, and as long as he's in the office, I have to care about what the president does, right? And it's in my interest to talk to those who are in support of the president, who are of the same political party as me, and I am obviously in the vast minority of that. But these are people just like us. They have children, they have families, they have lives, they have jobs. This is the person that they believe is the best to lead the country, right? Say what you will of the man himself, right? Say what you will of some of his followers of ill repute publicly, right? But not every person who supports the president is a bad person. Not every person who supports any particular candidate is a bad person. We're all Americans. We're all fundamentally good people. I believe, at least. We all want to do what's right for our children. You'll hear that segment out there, is that people were there for their children, for their grandchildren, right? They were there to set an example that I'm going to plant a flag and say, I'm going to leave the world better than when I found it, right? And I believe that's something we all say to ourselves, and we say it on camera, and we say it in recordings. But when we're not on the clock, when we're just driving by the rally or the protest, right? You have options. If they want you to honk, you can honk. You can say nothing. You could just drive by casually. You could even yell down the window and roll, I disagree with you. Have a nice day. Which I didn't hear that once. I don't think anybody does that. Nor would the time probably work for anybody to hear it. But anyway, yes, you're allowed to scream obscenities at people from the road. You're allowed to, flip them off, I guess. But, you're yelling at children, right? When you just yell at the crowd in its entirety because you don't like the president, you take all these people's individuality away. And you say that, hey, child in the crowd, fuck you. Ask yourself, do you feel good? If you told the entire crowd to fuck off loud enough so they could all hear it and there were kids in the crowd, would you feel good about yourself? Huh? Would you? I don't think you would. I'm sure some people would. That's not character. That's not what we need. That's not what America needs to do right now. You step up and realize that it's a rough time. People that we live with in our community, our neighbors, our friends, we disagree on this. But we're going to get through it, right? One way or another, we're going to get through it. And when we get through it, the other people will still be here. They don't disappear. If Trump wins, the liberals still exist. And if Biden wins, conservatives and Trump supporters still exist, right? Just because an election happens doesn't mean we go back to a time before we remember when civility existed, right? We make those choices. We as individuals choose to be civil or not, right? And it is very easy to give in to the anger and the frustration and the anxiety. It is very easy to just snap on people that you don't know and have never seen before. And it's especially easy to do so now in a world where we have internet and Twitter and, frankly, no consequences and even sometimes incentives to do it, right? If we believe that this kind of behavior is not acceptable, the first person that you have to talk to is yourself. And ask yourself in your weaker moments and in your fits of passion, will you maintain your character? And will you maintain the example of what you want others to see, right? You know what? While I was in that crowd, I definitely heard people scream, fuck you, or go fuck yourself, or whatever. And I heard chants back and forth from the pro-Trump and the anti-Trump people. But when I talk to these people individually, right, we're not members of a mob chanting mindlessly. We're all people with our individual thoughts and feelings and reasons for being where we are today, right? And you know what? People on the other side of the street are going to have different opinions from you, right? People on the other side of the street still live in your neighborhood. They still go to your schools. You still work with them, right? And you know what? Be passionate. Be involved. Be engaged in the system. Because when you don't, that's when corruption sinks in. But do not let the intensity get the better of your human character. Do not let it get the better of the person that you know you're capable of and the example that you want to set for your children. Right? Right? We always talk about leaving a better world for our children, but it's easy to forget in the moment that they watch us and they learn about character from us. And if we learn to talk to each other with respect and dignity, and if we force ourselves to treat us with respect, even if we are being disrespected, and if we realize that kind of discipline is necessary for a civil society to work, then we can make this work. But if we just give in to our emotions, and we just give in to the anger, and we give in to the incentives to be like this, then it will not get better. You learn a lot from talking to people, right? And look, every person I talked to today, I obviously didn't agree with them on everything, right? And I'm not here to hyper question everything that they believe. I'm here to just talk to as many people as wants to talk and give their honest assessment of why they're here. You know, it's important to have conversations consistently, and it's important to learn things that don't fit your preconceived worldview. And it's important to talk to people that you may just drive by on the street and call crazy, and call ignorant, and call bad people, right? Odds are you don't know anybody in that crowd, right? I didn't know really anybody till I showed up, but they talked to me like human beings, and we had conversations, right? Young, old, Latino, white, veterans, business owners. The people that make up America were out today, expressing their opinions, right? And we will vote on a new president in the future. And you know what? As I mentioned before, I'm not voting for the president, but I know many who are. And I want to listen to them. I want to hear what they have to say. Because they elected the president that we have now, right? They made this decision. And you know what? Will that same coalition exist in a month? Maybe not. Maybe. But we have to be able to listen to one another. And we have to be able to understand where we're coming from. And you know what? That doesn't mean you have to give in to groupthink. It doesn't mean you have to give in to the crowd. You can express your own opinion. Think for yourself and consume as much information as possible from as many sources as possible. And always be skeptical. And always be questioning. And always be willing to push your intellectual boundaries, because that's how you learn, right? That's how you grow. And that's how you become a better member of society, right? The people I met today were civil. They were engaged. They cared about the future. They cared about this country. They may disagree on who should lead it, but they do believe that it should be led. And they do believe that when this is over, one way or the other, we are going to get through this. Thank you to everybody who was willing to talk to me today. It was different. It was awkward. It was my first time interviewing people for the most part too. So if you're in this episode, feel free to reach out, and I can, in the next episode, give you a shout out or share it or whatever. I don't know. I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. But again, big thank you to the people I talked to. To the people who didn't make it in this interview, I'm sorry. Some of the audio didn't work. Some of it went out. And it was a pleasure to talk to everybody today. And I hope everybody stays safe, stays warm. And I will see you next time.